How about
First, I'm recently widowed and have gone through the same cancer experience that I'm sure you are going through. I hope you will not take my question from the wrong perspective. I mean it with no disrespect. One of the things that my husband and I found out as we went through the cancer industry is that there is such a fear of the litigious nature of our society that doctors are afraid to be creative. They're afraid to, and they're also afraid to not go from A to B to D. They have to do A, B, C because they're afraid that they'll end up in court. I would appreciate your comments as a senator, as an attorney, and as the spouse of someone who's battling.
I'll be happy to answer that. There are a whole group of things we can do to make the legal system fair and work better. And what I would personally do, because I know it, I've lived through it, is put more responsibility on the lawyers to keep cases out of court that don't belong there, and which make it difficult. In some cases, drive up costs. So and I go through the whole thing. I'll do it quickly. What I would do is say, if you're going to file a case, you have to have it reviewed by an expert in the field who determines that the case, an independent expert, who determines the case is in fact meritorious and serious, and you make the lawyer sign a certification that that has been done, and if the lawyer fails to do it, the lawyer's held financially responsible. So the idea is to make sure that we keep cases out of the court system that don't belong in the court system. But if I could go a step further and talk about the bigger issue, because I really think that is a minor issue in the bigger general scheme of things. The bigger issue of what do we need to do about the whole issue of cancer, including breast cancer, which Elizabeth was diagnosed with. I have met so many women, and so has Elizabeth. She draws them like a magnet, as you would expect, who've been faced with exactly what she's faced with the exception that they don't have health care coverage. And if you don't have health care coverage in America, and you're a woman diagnosed with breast cancer, you have up to a 50% greater chance of dying from the breast cancer. That is not right. It is absolutely not right. It's also true that if you're poor, or African American, or a person of color, then the odds go up dramatically that when you're first diagnosed, your disease will already have metastasized. So if you think being poor and uninsured doesn't matter, I mean, besides not being able to go to the doctor, it matters in your ability to stay alive. It's really pretty much that simple. And I feel such an enormous, Elizabeth and I both feel such an enormous weight and responsibility to do something about that. We've had women come up to us weeping with tears in their eyes, hugging Elizabeth, talking about what an extraordinary woman she is. And I'm a little biased, but I agree with that. What an extraordinary woman she is and what a great role model she is. And Elizabeth says to me, and we have to do something about this. This cannot continue. We can't keep hearing these horror stories. I mean, we carry them around with us all the time. I can still see faces of the women that I've met around the country who are faced with the same thing. We have to do something about it. And we also have to put more money into funding cancer research. We need to double the funding at the NIH. We need to make sure that in our research-based universities, they're getting the money they need to do the kind of creative, innovative work that you're talking about. I mean, we need to take seriously finding a cure for cancer. And then, last but not least, but on a related subject, we need to get rid of the ideological limitations on stem cell research in this country so that we're actually funding stem cell research. They told me to stop, but I want to do somebody in the back. How about this woman right back here?
Can you tell all of us specifically what you would like to see us do? Sure, the vote swings in your favor at the next election.
I'm sure you're glad you waited for that one.
I think the good last question. Honestly, I think the most important, this is what I really believe, having been in this grassroots setting with people over and over and over, every time I leave an event, every time here in New Hampshire, it happened multiple times yesterday, people come up to me and say, you know, I came to this event, I thought I was supposed to vote for Senator Clinton. or I thought I was supposed to vote for so-and-so, and now I'm for you. Honestly, they just have to see me and hear what I have to say. I mean, I try to make it more complicated than that, but I don't believe it. But I think I'm confident that when people hear what my ideas are and see me in person, they can make a judgment about me. And when that happens, we'll win. That's really all it takes. And so we need you, to answer your question, we need you to spread the word to your friends, to your neighbors, to tell them. And this is, it goes back to a point I made a few minutes ago. This is something where you know, I know you hear all this rhetoric all the time about how important New Hampshire primary is and all that. But I think about it in a different way than a lot of these people do. Because most of America will never see a presidential candidate in person. And if they see a presidential candidate in person, it's going to be as part of some big multi-thousand throng crowd where a speech is given, everybody claps, and they go home. You are in a different place. And in so many ways, you are the guardians of what kind of president we're going to have. Nobody else is in a position to have the kind of serious evaluation of the personal characteristics of the president that you have. And that's why you are so important. It's why you signal to the rest of the country who you believe can be trusted, who you think is sincere, as opposed to just giving you a political line. I mean, that's the thing that you have to evaluate. Not just me. You ought to make that determination about me, but you ought to do it for all the other candidates, because that is absolutely crucial for the future of America, and you're crucial for that. Thank you all very much for coming.